Good day. I'm Mike Baxter, Adjunct Professor of History at Belmont Abbey College and Central Piedmont Community College. I'm here today in front of the Centennial Memorial that was dedicated on October 7, 1880, for the 100th commemoration of the Battle of Kings Mountain. This is now the 240th anniversary of the battle, that, as the monument tells us, here the tide of battle turned in favor of the American colonies. To understand the importance of the battle, we need to go back a bit in history. In April 1775, at Lexington and Concord, the famous shots heard round the world were fired. The struggle for independence of the American colonies began. As news from Massachusetts spread, Congressional Delegate Henry Laurens of South Carolina wrote that a delirium of zeal swept over the colonies. Patriotic spirits were high. But an invasion force of 40,000 British troops, aided by 30,000 German Hessians and 25,000 Tories, with the backing of the largest navy in the world, created fear and apprehension throughout the colonies. They were especially real in the southern colonies, as they were closely tied economically to markets in Britain and the British Caribbean colonies. Though they fought valiantly, Washington's small and inadequately supplied forces were unable to stop the British from taking New York City and the surrounding areas. And then in 1778, the British captured our capital and largest city, Philadelphia. Our major victory was the defeat of British invasion led by General Burgoyne at Saratoga, led by Benedict Arnold. Though Washington's army harassed the British, Patriot forces were unable to defeat the British in the north. The fall of Philadelphia and the winter of Valley Forge created an unpopular feeling with some of the southern slaveholders. With the war in the north stalemated, the British Secretary of State for America, Lord Germain, developed what is known as the Southern Strategy. He believed that the South, unlike the Northeast, had a large population of loyalists. He believed that the British forces landed, took the major port cities of Savannah and Charleston. They could easily move through the Carolinas and Virginia, gathering thousands of loyal Americans. This combined British and Loyalist force could then march north and end the rebellion. Initially, the British invasion of the South was successful. In December 1778, Savannah fell with few British losses. In the March of 1780, the British surrounded the city of Charleston. After a 6-week siege, the Patriot commander, Benjamin Lincoln, surrendered the city and his 5,266 soldiers. The British commander, Sir Henry Clinton, was so confident of victory, he returned to New York, and he had left General Cornwallis to continue the Southern War. In August 1780, routed by the British in South Carolina at the Battle of Camden, were our troops under Horatio Gates. The Patriot Army of the South disintegrated. The defeated Patriot forces fled wildly from Camden battlefield in disarray, throwing down their weapons and running back to their homes. Morale in the Carolinas plummeted. It was perhaps the lowest point of the Revolutionary War. Cornwallis's forces moved north, with the Patriots providing a spirited but futile resistance. The British took Charlottetown in September 28, 1780. As Cornwallis's forces moved north, one of his commanders, Major Patrick Ferguson, moved through the upstate of the Carolinas. He demanded that the mountain men in the Carolinas and Virginia lay down their arms, or he would march his army over the mountains, hang their leaders, and lay waste to the country with fire and sword. The Scotch, Irish, and German settlers in the region were not afraid. They were incensed. As Charlottetown was falling to Cornwallis, the Over-Mountain men, led by Isaac Shelby and John Sevier, followed Ferguson's forces. They were joined by 400 Virginians under William Campbell, 400 South Carolinians under James Williams, and joined by local militias under Benjamin Cleveland, Frederick Hambright, William Chronicle, and others. They mustered near South Carolina border and vowed to destroy Ferguson's invading army. We're here at the memorial that was completed in 1909. This is the area where some of the fiercest fighting occurred and the battle culminated. Spies went out and told the Patriots that Patrick Ferguson and his 1,100 men were on top of this hill. About 1,000 Patriots surround the hill. And after they surround the hill, Patrick Ferguson's men do 3 individual bayonet charges to trying to force the Patriots to go out and withdraw. But the Patriots don't flee, as many Patriot militia had done before them. The Patriots come up over the top of the hills, all the way around us. They go out and they push the British into an ever smaller area. Eventually the British battle breaks down. Their total cohesion of their force is eliminated. The Patriots go out and rise up, and as victory is apparent, the battle turns to extreme savagery. In a desperate attempt to escape, Ferguson and his officers break through the Patriot lines and flee to the safety of Charlottetown. Ferguson was shot from his horse. His foot caught in the stirrup and his horse dragged him down until a Patriot grabbed the reins of his horse. Ferguson was shot multiple times and shortly expired. His men built a cairn where his body still lies today. 28 Patriots lost their lives and 68 were wounded. But their sacrifice inspired a great victory. Ferguson's entire force was annihilated, with 225 killed, 163 wounded, and 600 captured. In an hour's battle, the course of the Revolutionary War and the history of America was changed. British Commander-in-Chief Henry Clinton later said that the battle was the first link in a chain of evils that followed each other in regular succession until, at last, the total loss of America. Thomas Jefferson wrote that the battle was the turn in the tide of success. The battle took only an hour, but in that time a new commitment was forged that changed the trajectory of the war. No longer were the Patriots afraid that they were going to be defeated. The spirit and the men of the Piedmont and the mountains would ensure final victory.